right now. No matter where you are today, somebody helped you to get there. In a larger sense, we got to see this in our world today. Our white brothers must see this. They haven't seen it up to now. Great problem facing our nation today in the area of race is that it is the black man who, to a large extent, produced the wealth of this nation. The nation doesn't have sense enough to share its wealth and its power with the very people who made it so. I know what I'm talking about this morning. That man made America work. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the low end, with a median $50 trillion for slavery alone. Some researchers are 24 trillion through 93 trillion, plus 735 billion recurring. This number doesn't include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Richardson Rochester Black Tax was published, nor does it include the cost of Black life, nor does it include the cost of living increases. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. If this is the number you would like to join me in the fight for, email me at friendsofadostv@gmail.com. That's friendsofadostv@gmail.com.
Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. Oh, y'all know who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel, bringing you those ADOS hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. And today, family, it's me, myself, and I. No guest today. This is part 2. I got pulled off the Sunday show to go into a meeting because the ADOS movement is imploding right before our eyes. And, you know, we're not about to have that happen by the agents of chaos outside and within the movement, okay? So this is part 2 of Sunday's show. Shout out to the clubhouse. I was told that you guys might not stay connected because you cannot see me doing my show, and Clubhouse is more of an exchange. And I'm happy to exchange with you guys in the Clubhouse. I am new to Clubhouse. After the show, y'all can meet me over there at Angela Nirvana. Under tonight's topic, we have integrated ourselves into a burning building, part 2. Okay? You guys are free to join the after party with Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest. So Clubhouse has already texted me. I don't know how. My daughter had to show me. You got messages. People enjoyed your show in the Clubhouse. I don't see the people, but they don't see me. But they sure enough love what I had to share on Sunday, and they are here for it. So Clubhouse, if you want to see my face, my jewels, because I get dressed for my audience. Lord knows my mama taught me, I don't care if you have 2 pennies to rub together. The world need not know that. So this is what I do for y'all. I get myself all the way together, okay, for my audience. I see Cherie pop up in the Clubhouse. If you want, hello, my love. If you want to see me live, Clubhouse, log in. I need my numbers up in YouTube. I have a lot of followers in Facebook, but I need you to log in to Friends of ADOS TV in YouTube. Press the thumbs up, and that way more people will be able to see this conversation, okay? So please, Friends of ADOS TV, subscribe there, or in Facebook, Friends of ADOS TV. This is for my Clubhouse loves, for you to see the show. And then when I'm done here, I promise I'll come directly over to play with you and to answer any questions you might have. Okay, so with that said, let me say hello to my co-hosts who have chatted and welcome them to the live. What's up, Sola, Soul, and Tom? Thank you for joining the live. Sam Riley, Terry Lewis, Lisa Todd, Antonio Sullivan, Gibson Eugene, Teresa Moses, Trey X, ADOS, and all of you who are watching in the Twitter, in the YouTube, in Facebook. I want to thank you guys. I got to start off by thanking y'all, because I tried to comment on Yvette's show last night when I was being dragged yet again. Friends of ADOS TV is being dragged. I've had to change the name of my, what's up, Black Mamba? Thank you for joining the live. I had to change my super PAC. They dragged that some time ago over on Breaking Brown, and it's really tragic. I'm going to do a separate show for that, because you guys matter to me. You guys have mattered to me for a long time, so the ones that show up regularly know how I get down. Y'all know I love us Black and Strong, and y'all know there's no grifting going on over here. So I tried to intercede in the comments, but her minions, her stooges, were over there erasing my comments in my own defense, in the defense of this work we've been doing. Oh, by the way, we were told by Yvette Carnell to go and be the movement, to go and be the solution. Now she and her minions are dragging us for doing that. We are the movement. We helped to get them to 80,000 subscribers apiece, and now they are coming for our jugular and trying to make it appear to our loves out here that we are, in fact, the agents of chaos that they are. That show is coming, but I need to thank you sincerely, because I helped her to get to 80,000 subscribers. I don't have 80,000 subscribers, but I see you guys. What's up, Real ID Solomon? Thank you for joining the live. Thank you, Rodney Young. Thank you. Yes, okay, Trey X, let's get into it a little bit. This wasn't supposed to be that show, but I'm hotter than fish grease. Where's Mike Michelson? Tell him to get that grease frying over here in the chat. He is hilarious, y'all. He keeps me laughing at all the puckery with a P. It's been hell. I've been attacked for my super PAC and trying to get candidates that are full-chested about our repair elected. They drag my PAC. They drag my candidate. They have just been waging all-out war on me and many others in the movement. I'm not going to say any names. This is me speaking on my show about my stuff. There's going to be a separate independent show coming because even if I'm not in Twitter in the clubhouse, all of the conversations and the photos of me being in the clubhouse, as rare as that is, have been getting back to me by the people who support my voice and support my work. So for you newcomers who like to drag me and you actually are buying into the lies of Yvette Carnell, let me help you understand, darlings. All of my paperwork has ADOS SoCal on it before HQ, Friends of ADOS Super PAC before the HQ, Friends of ADOS TV before the HQ. And all you have to do, if she hasn't already scrubbed them, is to go back to the archives. I've been rocking with Yvette since she was with Boyce. I should have saw it coming when she dragged him, not that he didn't deserve it. When she dragged Tyreek, I just never thought that she would turn on the very people who are the nucleus of this movement. I never dreamt it in a bazillion years. I've got pictures of us hugging up on each other at the inaugural conference. We were told to be this movement because she wanted no part of it. She wanted to strictly serve us, as she so brilliantly does, the ADOS politics. And she's got the unmitigated gall to act as if we're not supposed to use that information to grow our platforms, to grow this message, to grow the movement. It boggles the mind. I have been threatened lawsuits for continuing to use ADOS. I'm not using her hashtag. I identify us as a lineage. Frederick Douglass and then Martin Luther King Jr. referred to us as American descendants of slavery. I threw in the C for the chattel because I've shared with you guys that I've been in spaces where white people believe that they descend from American slavery for indentured servitude. I got dragged for throwing in the C. I have been dragged so much, I am traumatized behind it. So I was working on that super PAC, as many of you know, some of you are new, all the way back prior to the inaugural conference. Antonio Moore was at the SIP that Atlanta senatorial candidate Tamara Johnson Shealy hosted on our behalf. We vetted the best and the brightest throughout the country that were leading all the chapters to form the super PAC. The super PAC, oh, by the way, which is governed by the Federal Elections Commission. There can be no grifting over there, you see. And while in the same breath, she told our people, we don't have money for your PAC, for my movement. That's the first time, look at the archives, she ever claimed it as her movement. Prior to that, it was go be the solution. You guys are the movement. She would shout us out periodically about the work we're doing, boots on the ground. Now you're developing a show talking about Black Lives Matter and taking low-key shots at all the things you once praised. All you have to do is look at the archives. I'm not making things up. I don't have time to fish through all of those archives to put my points together. That's not my show. But I will defend my name and my brand because I've got amazing people in my midst who want to work. They want to fight for reparations and not fight and throw chairs at each other. So my brand and what I represent matters to me. And I have the right to come to my own defense. That's another show, like I keep saying, Debonair One, Antonio Sullivan, Mike Michelson, there you are. Yes, I'm going to put that show together because it's going to be a response to all of the madness that I've been getting, that I can't respond to everyone on everything. I'm just going to do a complete response video, probably sooner than later, to talk about the truth, because the lies are unconscionable. My Friends of Adocs Super PAC, Friends of ADOS TV channel, helped to get Antonio and Yvette to 80,000 subscribers, along with many of you that I see in this chat, only to be weaponized against us and turned against us to make it appear as if we are the grifters. And her minions are the worst. There are traitors amongst us. I'm sure they're watching and listening right now, because all of a sudden, magically, some of my talking points show up in the show. Whether they directly call me out or not, I hear and see all of the low-key shade. But I want to remind you newcomers, we are the movement. We created this. Antonio and Yvette were just invited to the table. Let's keep it a buck. Out here specifically, they were doing what they did individually, but out here in California, Antonio Moore was invited into ADOS California, invited to the meetings. And let me help you with something, because I know they're trying to bring up the issues from the past with SoCal in Los Angeles. I work with these people now under ADOS California. We have different ways in which we see how things became untethered, but we are working. We are putting our differences aside to get this work done, because we are the real ones. We are the ones that are here for the reparations and the trillions over multi-generations for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. These are the unsung sheroes and heroes who take catnaps, while Yvette and Tone weaponize what we've helped them to build. This would not be a movement without all of my comrades throughout this country putting in work on a local level and coming together collectively on a national level to burn the mother down to the ground. Do you hear me? Everything you hear and see concerning reparations started with this movement that Yvette Carnell, at her behest, told us to go and be that solution, told us to go and be the movement. And now, because she wants to take it over, she has given us her ass to kiss. We wanted to bring her the formula for how what we did came to grow to about 2,000 people throughout the country. We're still small. But now that she wants to take it over, she is making herself the face of a movement she had no hand in creating. She is giving her ass to kiss to all of us that did, myself included. So I'm sure they're over here will probably, drag me some more. I really am immune. I've grown a thick skin through it all. And I am on my square. The Friends of ADOS TV didn't stop with the dragging of my super PAC to get our reparationists in office. How are you going to say we don't have money for your super PAC to get your reparationists elected into the Congress, which is where we all know this happens? And yet I see people contributing constantly to your show. How are we too broke for our politics, but we're not too broke to enrich you and Antonio Moore's pockets? I was doing that before you dragged my PAC. And even after you dragged my PAC, I kept it 100 over here. I kept pushing your vids, pushing your voice, pushing your presence. But now you want to create HQ. and you want to charge seniors, adults, and teens the annual membership that you told us we didn't have the money for, while continuing to seek donations for your show in a pandemic. Can somebody help me understand how that works? How didn't we have the money in 2019 to do the PAC, but we got money in a pandemic to ask of teens, to ask of seniors, and to ask of adults? And why should we turn our money over to you? You sound like the Black Lives Matter that you're constantly talking about. That federation, separate and apart from the local chapters, okay, that have all the money amassed to them. Why do the chapters now have to send you the little money that we accumulate on this level to help us do local politics? Why does all that money have to come to you? And what is this I'm hearing of a private sponsor? Is this why you wanted everybody's intellectual property? You want all of our intellectual property so you can show your private sponsor the work we've done, so you can take credit for that? And all the while dragging us to make us look like the grifter you are appearing as, Yvette. You've got the wrong people around you. You absolutely do. They're creating much chaos. Don't know me. They don't know me. Okay? They don't know the thousands I reach. It may not be 80,000, but folks are watching. And so now you want to act as if you guys did this when we welcome Antonio Moore to the table for the AB 3121. We set up that meeting. We set up that meeting with Q, okay, to get Q to put pressure on the governor, to get AB 3121 passed. And we decided that we would put Tone in on that commission, give him presence, while not getting any return calls or any cooperation. All we see you doing is picking fights in Twitter and Clubhouse and on your shows. You guys have never picked up a phone. Never. You decide to drag your own comrades that made your movement what it is today. I wish you luck doing that with the agents of chaos you partner with, whom you won't tell to stand down when it comes to the nucleus of this movement. Shout out to all my comrades who are being dragged for filth by Yvette Carnell, Antonio Moore, and all of the minions in HQ. I salute you. I know what you've been doing. And so do many others. Trust and believe. She got 100 emails, I got 200. Okay? So we are going to be just fine. I will use ADOS because it's already an LLC down here long before the HQ. Okay? I will use Adocs at my discretion. I will use BAAAAAAAAACCCCCK, Black American Descendants of Chattel Slavery, at my discretion. I have never needed you nor Tone's permission to move. You can call me what you want. The people that have been here from day one know me. So I'm doing a separate show. As I mentioned, I have to get into this topic. We're already at 7:26. I want to talk about what I came in here to talk about, but there has been so much going on the past year. Can you imagine how much work she could have got done with us in partnership over the past year had we been focused instead of throwing chairs? We've got Biden in office, giving all of our tangibles and goodies to everyone. 85% of our electorate showed up and voted Biden-Harris despite their atrocious records against the American descendant of chattel slavery. And this is what your leaderless leader of the ADOS movement that's been hijacked is choosing to do with her time while making this chair throwing an excuse for not doing the work. We have been kicked out of more meetings with more leadership than you can imagine because of the nonsense going on in Twitter and the Clubhouse. Kicked out. Tone has spoken down to our people because they're not degreed. He knows the numbers. Wants to talk down to ADOS. Like Professor Black Truth, the Black Authority. I haven't heard him do that lately. But I don't like it when you constantly berate ADOS and you know the numbers. It's an insult because these are the very people we're fighting for. But they don't know enough because they're not degreed. This is the way you mistreat people. You want to drag me for wanting to include celebrities. You want to drag the very celebrities we're trying to include, not engage them in an exchange. Not engage them in an exchange. Drag them until you get invited to the table, Antonio Moore. Took that meeting with Ice Cube, did a whole show with him. Has he seen the video of you disparaging him prior to that? What about the Revolt Summit? You dragged Puffy so tough, you couldn't even get on the Revolt Summit. They uninvited you. Let's keep it a buck. This is what our leaderless leaders get paid to do. But you want to call me a grifter. I don't have the kind of money coming in like you. I don't have the subscribers because we helped you get there. Nobody helped me to get to 80K. And you give us your ass to kiss. Well, no more. You have shown us the door and we have gladly walked through it. We got Biden giving away the farm to immigrants. We got Biden sitting up here acting like he doing something with, something about the states. Let me just go over here to my articles. I'm not going to pull up every article. I'm just going to speak off the dome about my thoughts on these articles. Okay, so because it's too many, and I want to round this out, and this one needs supposed to be that show, and it's been a long year. Okay. So we got people all over the globe. This is Forbes, an overdue debt. Why it's finally time to pay reparations to Black Americans. Over 400 years ago, the first slaves were brought to the land that would eventually become the U.S. In the intervening years, a country was created, divided, reunited, and reconstructed. And it became one of the most powerful nations on the planet. But it has never truly compensated those individuals who literally grew the nation and whose ancestors suffered from generations of anti-Black policies. Do you think, Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, this would be in the Forbes if it weren't for the comrades' boots on the ground? Do you think this would be going on with Forbes? If it wasn't for us pushing and taking over the right projects. You told us to go take over NAACP and National Urban League. They are co-opted by white money. I told my people, damn all that. Let's take it over legislatively. Let's take it over per the policies. Let's get into these spaces and have a presence. Let's build the ADOS movement. No reparations, no peace. This is in the Amalgadom nation. Black millennials are being led by a generation of apolitical black boomer gatekeepers and progressives. Yes, Nina Turner, where you at? Where you at? Where is reparations on your platform? Jamal Bowman, where is reparations on your platform? Yes, you want a new reconstruction. How you going to do a new reconstruction with class-based policies that don't make American descendants of chattel slavery whole? Cori Bush, you fighting for the climate, we fighting for our lives. Do you understand me? We are last in every category, and you weaponize your ADOS-ness to talk about climate change, to pivot to that? Really? Where are you, Ayanna Pressley? Let's talk about what they own. Justice Democrats, cancel student loan debt. What's that do for the, 56% of ADOS who don't have degrees? That's another white wealth transfer. Fair trade, federal jobs guarantee. For whom exactly? American descendants of chattel slavery can't even get work. And when they do, their salaries are suppressed. Immigrants make more than ADOS. They get hired more readily than ADOS. You got white high school dropouts that are more gainfully employed than college degreed American descendants of chattel slavery. So this has no specifics for ADOS. A Green New Deal. Where are the jobs within that Green New Deal? Where are the quotas that we're going to fill those jobs first with American descendants of chattel slavery? Medicare for all. Do we have doctors that care about our medical? I mean, let's do that, but that doesn't make ADOS whole. That doesn't close the egregious racial wealth gap. Tax the rich and give it to who? The middle class whites, the immigrants who identify as white, you know, the ones that Biden said the civil rights leaders will have to answer to as they were begging, can we just live? They got ripped a new one. I'll try to find that article and read it to you. Expand Social Security, free public college and trade school. What difference does that make if it's not exclusively for us with jobs guarantees? We are the highest in unemployment numbers, the highest in COVID deaths, the highest in the number of cases of COVID we've got. Out here in California, Prop 16 got shut down to turn over Prop 209 to give us affirmative action. These Hispanics out here are now about 52%. To ADOS's dwindling numbers, we're now at around 5% from 16%. Can't afford to be down here. No social capital at the table. 44% of the degree, only 6% of the private sector. Less than that. That data I just rambled off to you comes from The Color of Wealth, LA, from around 2004 to 2014. What is going on with those numbers now in terms of the degree as compared to the private sector? They're heinous in a COVID environment. When white folks catch a cold, black folks catch COVID. So if you're going to give free public college and trade school, where the jobs guarantees in the private and the public sectors. Otherwise, we're just sitting on, well, we won't be sitting on a mound of debt. We'll just be educated and not be able to live the American dream. Secure a living wage. $15 an hour is not a living wage out here. Furthermore, these corporations give with 15 an hour with one hand and take your hours away. Canceling student loan debt, it's a white wealth transfer when 84% of your people aren't college degree. So Justice Democrats, Nina Turner. Yeah. They want to fill up the Congress with the likes of AOC. Let's talk about her, since off the dome, that's where we went with it. Let's talk about AOC, how she plays the race card for the vote, and now for our reparations. This is in BET. Who is black? I think I want to share this with you all. I want to share this one. Who is black? Yeah. Y'all's AOC. Justice Democrats want to fill Congress with the likes of her. Whatever reparations could look like in the future, there's no question that the rightful recipients of said payback are American descendants of chattel slavery. While the blackness identity is a vast and millions of black people exist throughout the world with dark skin, who we are as a black people stands loud and proud despite centuries of attempted erasure. Me speaking. You know how they erase us? They flatten us. They put us in categories as African American. Wasn't Barack Obama African American? Wasn't he Kenyan and white, descendant of slave owners on his white mama side, with George Bush as his cousin? Look it up. So, black and African American flattens us. We are 90% share less than 700 billion since COVID. Black immigrants, by and large, come over here with money, especially from Africa. Many of them descend from slave traders. They come over here, check the box, get all of our goodies. They come from money. Just told you there's 60,000 liquid down here in 2014 to ADOS 200 liquid in 2014. Those numbers are definitely more grievous than that and egregious than that since COVID. So that's how they flatten us. This is why we're working collectively throughout the country to get a new ethnicity called Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Because we need to put a gate up around our justice claim. And folks love to call me xenophobic. There's nothing xenophobic about standing up for my people. Do I call you xenophobe when you identify as Nigerian, Haitian, Jamaican? Do I? When you ride hard for your people? But let the Adocs stand up for herself and her people. I'm called xenophobic. I don't care. I'm going into this topic that many people told me to stay away from because we, as American descendants of chattel slavery, need to wake up. We are at George Floyd, 8 minutes, 46 seconds to the neck. Would that ever be a Black immigrant? If there's 60,000 liquid to our 200 liquid in LA. If they got 12,000 in total assets, Caribbean immigrants, to ADOS Boston, 700 total assets. $8, $11 in Miami. Will the race soldiers ever be there stepping on their necks until they cry for their mamas and urinate themselves? All Black ain't Adocs Black. And we need to wake up because they have taken over the Congress. Sheila Jackson Lee descends from Jamaicans. She's working with Cobra and Knock, while Yvette and Tone throw chairs at the very people who are the nucleus of the movement. They're about to take it over and have no money in there for us. And if there is any money, you'd be lucky to get $5 out of it. Because Black immigrants that look like us, hello, Kamala Harris, ski wow, 90% of the people you locked up here in California were nonviolent offenders. The state now turns a profit on the very weed these brothers are still on lockdown and putting out your white fires and your white heels for your white people for $1 a day. After the governor told you to let them free when you were AG. You let Steve Mnuchin walk after he wrongfully foreclosed on ADOS homes up in the Bay. Kamala, ski wow. Why do you think you were coming in fourth in the state? Your heinous record against the American descendant of chattel slavery is why. We didn't want no parts of you. So we didn't want no parts of Biden. All of this was forced on us by way of election interference. And y'all bought into the Kool-Aid that replacing a racist in office of 4 years with racists with a combined record of racism against the Adocs for a combined 65 years was sound way to use your vote while not demanding anything. Hence, that's why we've got nothing and everybody else is getting everything. Moving on. As reparations once again have become a popular political topic, all thanks to the boots on the ground that are now being dragged and disparaged by our leaderless leaders, the lies are unconscionable. More journalists are asking politicians their stance on this question of righting a wrong. Interviewed during the annual South by Southwest Festival by senior politics editor Brianna Gray, U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez paused before answering the reparations question. When asked, what is the political cost of saying that you're going to throw your hat in with a reparations program, how much do you think these considerations should be made? Ocasio-Cortez vaguely responded, never completely answering. Isn't this what Joe Biden did? He went on that debate stage and when asked about reparations, talked to us like he talked to the civil rights leader recently and told us immigration is the way. Why do you think that is? Because they've made these immigrants white because their numbers are dwindling. So they made them whites to sustain their whiteness and their oppressive ways. So we label them white, but capitalism still needs what? A bottom caste. And the movement is not standing for that. We are done being the anchor of this country. We are done being the legs of that table. The revolution is being social mediaized. You better ask somebody. We are doing this work. We the people. Ocasio-Cortez vaguely responded, never completing the answer. Instead of sharing if her platform stands for or against reparations of any kind, the representative doubled down, expanding on the wiping out of blackness. There are a lot of systems that we have to dismantle, but it also does get into this interesting area of where we are about identity as a country. Because, like, what does it mean to be Black? Who is Black and who isn't? Especially as our country becomes more biracial and multiracial. You see? This is what they do. Turn us against one another. Turn the black man and the black woman against one another. You know how you do that? You deny the black man jobs. You deny him education. You set up a preschool to prison pipeline for his children. For them. Okay? You redline the black man and his family into environmentally hostile and racist communities and tenement housing. You won't give him money to start businesses in his own communities. You won't give him home loans because he's not making any money. You put him in jail or you execute him by government sanction. You deny him reparations while giving away all of the reparations in a pandemic and class-based policies which don't fix race. When you fix everybody else, where is American descendant of chattel slavery? Still the anchor of the country. And she wants to dumb down about blackness in this case. Continuing to propose the same questions about Latino identity, Ocasio-Cortez says, I think it's important that we have substantive conversations about race beyond like what is racist and what is not. And if someone says something racist, does that mean or does that make them a racist? This is what we're getting. This is what the progressives have birthed. This is the face of the progressive justice Democrats. We are in grave trouble because we failed to weaponize our vote to socialize this suffering. We may get one more shot in 2024, and I'm telling you flat out, I ain't mincing words. I'll tell you in a minute. Never addressing the question about reparations, Ocasio-Cortez managed to devolve blackness in America as existing as slaves and 3/5 of a human being to encompassing an entire country of mixed races and ambiguity for everyone. Asking, what does it mean to be black? Followed up by, who is black? Suggests the centuries of torture and triumph endured by Black Americans becomes absolved into justice for all. This is exactly what they want. To give our reparations to everyone while keeping us as the anchor. Before long, we'll have $5 Adocs of immigrants and white folks the same way the Indians did. Just check the dolls rolls. This is how Elizabeth Warren got in trouble. With instances such as the infamous Rachel Dolezal scandal, Ocasio-Cortez raises a valid point. The social construct of race, including blackness as an identity, leaves room for imposters. This is why we've got certain standards to prove that you descend from chattel slavery in the U.S. The Caribbeans already have CARICOM, and we're not included in none of that. I must open the door. I'm getting hot. Africa can take it up with their colonizers, but this is what Knock and Cobra and Sheila Jackson Lee have cooked up in those edits. They have cooked this up in the edits and telling the world that we're agents of chaos for demanding our reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. I ain't seen them say none of this about the Jews and their repair, the Indians and their repair, the Japanese and their repair. We are owed about $2 million apiece on the low end. There's a number floating that is 6 quadrillion. The obscurity of blackness does not go without definition. Speaking specifically to the U.S., a country whose politics are consumed by turmoil, blackness still refers to people of African descent who were taken and transported from African countries and held as slaves on American soil. So let's jump to an article where she's clear about reparations and what she intends for it. Let me find it, y'all. Hold on. Thank you, Clubhouse. If you guys want to see me live, you can jump on YouTube and watch it live, or Facebook, Friends of ADOS TV. Thank you for watching in the Clubhouse. I'll be over for an after party so I can address you after the show. Guys, I'm pulling up that article where she wants reparations. Here we go. Let me share this one with you. Do y'all see that okay? I think so. Okay, let me jump back. Oh, shoot. I always get lost when I do that. Okay, here we go. AOC wants coronavirus reparations for minority communities. Another way they flatten us. Minority, people of color. Lock up the black man, execute the black man, turn the black man against the beauty of his own women. Turn the black women towards white men and others, because the black men are running after everything but their own. Make us hate each other. Set up the abortion clinics in our communities, while the Hispanics and all the other groups pop out babies like popcorn. Make us so poor we can't afford to have our children, while screaming for right to life, but don't want to give any support, don't want to hire us, don't want to educate us fairly with our own tax dollars for those of us who own homes. I've shared about the public school system down here, how racist it is, how we had school of choice. My daughter went to a very premier middle grade school from K through 5. By 5th grade, they had kicked all of those beautiful black babies out of the white public school back to their neighborhoods where I could afford to purchase property. I caught the superintendent at a meeting. He knew from my voice I didn't come to play. Said, meet me on the side. And instead of putting my daughter in the #1 white school 4 miles from my home, he shipped my daughter 20 miles from my home each way. No buses. So let's stop pretending that the white oppressive narrative of lazy and not pulling yourself up by your bootless straps is the real deal, and that we are not here at George Floyd 846 as a byproduct of institutional systemic racism. We're dying disproportionately from COVID and COVID cases, but AOC wants coronavirus reparations for the minorities, but don't know what black is, so we can get specific repair. We'll read a little bit of it. Where am I at? 7:54. Good Lord, have mercy. Am I ever going to get to my book club read? I've got 4 other tapings I've got to do tonight, family. Oh my God. And I got to do costume changes for those. Okay, she's called for coronavirus reparations for minorities, claiming higher numbers of COVID-19 fatalities in low-income communities stems from underlying inequality. Why are you naming it reparations? Because we have put it on the world stage. And please, with this Black Lives Matter, if you're not marching for economic inclusion, you're not fighting for Black life to matter. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has called for, COVID deaths are disproportionately spiking in Black and brown. That's another way they flatten us. That's why we need our own distinction. Black American descendants of chattel slavery, U.S. chattel slavery, Black and brown. Why? Because the chronic toll of redlining, environmental racism, wealth gap, etc. are underlying health conditions, the Bronx-born lawmaker added. Who is this predominantly for and has been for? The toll of redlining, environmental racism, and the wealth gap. She's taken all of our talking points and made it about her people. to give them reparations. Trump already gave $3.3 billion to the Indians. We, that's ADOS DMV, that's Triangle ADOS, Twin City ADOS, that's Concerned Black American Citizens, we put together a COVID relief letter. They got no traction. It was ripped to shreds and stomped on by the leaderless leaders. We were trying to get our people $6,000 a month, plus premium health care on a federal upfront. Yeah, we were doing all of that. We've got an economic empowerment letter that's been stroked beautifully by Dawn Page. Look it up, cbacusa.org, where we are making the demands of Biden, while the leaderless leaders sling chairs and destroy the nucleus that is the movement. We ain't got time for this. We are out of time. We are at George Floyd 846. Why? Because okay, so she's talking about the chronic issues of the ADOS that's been our plight since we were drugged over here in chains. Inequality is a comorbidity. We've been saying that. COVID relief should be drafted with a lens of reparations, she wrote. With her district ravaged by the coronavirus, AOC came under fire Friday for participating in a virtual forum with constituents from the comforts of her plush abode in D.C. Congress expanded unemployment benefits in its $2 trillion coronavirus aid package, but there was no discussion of reparations for poorer communities. What has Biden done for the ADOS reparations for the descendants of American chattel slavery here in the U.S.? We'll get into it. Since he took office, Congress expanded, the Association of American Medical Colleges last month warned the outbreak could be particularly brutal for marginalized communities who can't afford to miss work and have no way to avoid crowded conditions. You know what's happening to our people? We're falling behind in education. Why? Folks got to survive this. They got to go, the parents have to go out in COVID to work. They're leaving the babies home to manage the babies in areas with spotty Wi-Fi and no real access to good hardware to go online to get their education done. They're too busy managing the babies. So they're the frontline workers out here risking their lives and risking their children's lives when they come home. I spoke to a colleague whose son had to keep working. Okay. The son had to keep working. He came home and was asymptomatic, but gave everybody in the house COVID. That is the plight for us right now. Right now. Our children are failing to be set up for the preschool to prison pipeline, while no real reform is happening. If you're not dismantling private prisons and qualified immunity, you're not intending to do anything different. Author of the 94 crime bill, segregationist Jim Crow Sloppy Joe. You're not intending to do anything to help the million of the brothers. I don't even know how many sisters are on lockdown, maybe 300,000. But you want to reunite the immigrants, the illegals, with their children at the border. No plans to reunite Black fathers with their children and their women. A New York City Department of Health map released Wednesday shows the virus is hitting lower income neighborhoods harder, with more cases in places such as Brownsville, South Bronx, Flatbush, Jackson Heights, and Elmhurst. The 30-year-old self-described democratic socialist has been critical of the government's response to the coronavirus pandemic, lashing out at Andrew Cuomo for not temporarily suspending rent payments like he did for mortgage holders. To my understanding, down here in LA, the homeless are dying for a day. We gave them $1 billion to build the housing, but it's not profitable. They built 5% of the housing for the homeless, and they've lined their own pockets and that of the fellow contractors. Who do you think is on Skid Row? 90% American descendant of chattel slavery. While HQ throws chairs. We got work to do, people. We ain't got time for the bull. We're kind of creating a class and race issue, AOC told NYC's The Brian Lara Show on Wednesday. We're essentially rewarding and offering preferential treatment to landowners and folks who are more wealthy, and we're not offering that same kind of relief to renters. Okay? But let me stop sharing that and get on over. Like I said, Nina Turner, nothing's on her platform for reparations. We did the Justice Democrats. Biden administration. Let me share this one with you. Welcome to the live clubhouse. I see you, fam. If you want to join me and see me live and what I'm sharing with the audience, you can join me at YouTube and Facebook at Friends of ADOS TV. Thank you. So here we go. I told you guys that immigration is being weaponized against us to replace the vote, to make us third-class citizens in the country our ancestors built with their lives, and to deny us our justice claim. If you think getting reparations from white folks as second in line, imagine being fourth in line and having an administration full of others, immigrants who identify as white. If white men who know they owe us the debt won't do it, what do you think will happen when immigrants take over the Congress, when the immigrants are now the head of the country? How will we get it then? We've got 2 years to get these reparations, because I can promise you this, that Congress is turning red next election cycle. They made it by the hair of their chinny chin chin. And their agenda for immigrants and LGBTQIA, that's not flying in 2022. Not with the white folks. So Biden's trying to flood the country with immigrants. Not even flood the country, let me stand corrected. He's trying to make citizens of the 11 million illegals that are already here. They're already 19% to our 13% and shrinking populace. 11 million more, and he and Kamala have plans to give H-1B visas for tech jobs that pay over $100K a year to Asian Indians, Kamala's people, East Indian Brahmin caste. Asian Indians in LA are 425,000 liquid to white folks, around 130K liquid to African immigrants, 60,000 liquid to ADOS, 200 liquid. And our country built all the wealth each of these groups eat from the table of that we are the legs. Biden administration could have record number of Indian Americans, more than half women. And we're dealing with the vice president who already said she's not doing anything specifically for our group. This is how she was running her own presidential race. Early on the campaign trail, after announcing her race on Howard's campus on MLK Jr. Day. The Biden-Harris administration has named and nominated the most Indian Americans for positions in the administration in American history. President Joe Biden will likely have a record number of Indian Americans in this administration. As of Friday, Biden had named and nominated at least 20 Indian Americans to his administration, including 13 women, further propelling the historic vice presidency of Kamala Harris, the first South Asian and Black woman to hold the office. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Do you see how respectability and identity politics must die for ADOS to thrive? They are building her as South Asian and Black. She is East Indian Brahmin caste on her mama's side and Jamaican on her daddy's side. Now he's already admitted to descending from slave owners. His father was an Irishman. His mother, I don't know. Maybe his mother was Black, African, and she was raped like we were raped, you see. I don't know, but they're keeping it under wraps so that she can pass as Black. This is why we must unflatten Blackness. This is exactly why East Indian Brahmin caste is white in India. Martin Luther King Jr. went to India, came back and told us we were the Dalits, the bottom caste. American descendants of chattel slavery are the bottom. And what have I been teaching here, friends of ADOS? That the color of white is green. So this is a lie to keep the sheep asleep. They have gone back to sleep. And so we've got to come together, put the chairs down, and continue this fight collectively united. There can be no more division of the assembly from the HQ when the assembly and all the other chapters outside of that assembly are the movement. Quote, it's an extraordinary thing in that we are finally able to see members of our community at the highest levels of government. Even at the staff level, there's much better representation than there has been at any other time in the past, said Neil Makija, Executive Director of Impact, an Indian American advocacy group and PAC, working to establish a network of Indian American leaders. We could have been 2 years into aggregating dollars to build our super PAC so that we can ensure not Black immigrants, but American descendants of chattel slavery were in this Congress. Tamara Johnson Shealy should have been the first. But Atlanta, where Yvette's minions are, chose to support Warnock, who barely says Black on his platform, all the while acting and pretending as if our vote wasn't the hottest commodity down there to at least make a dent in that election down there with Tamara and the weight of a unified movement that we created. We are the founders of. That weight could have gotten her enough votes to force Warnock's hand to the reparations that we are long overdue. They tore her down, dragged her through the mud, dismantled all of that we were doing all over the country, making dials, giving money. Dismantled because YC, we did not kiss her ring. So she crushes everything that she feels poses a threat to her. After we helped to build her and Tone's subscribers to 80,000. They weren't at 80,000 when I first started watching them. But our shares upon shares and speaking her up on Be the Power and on Friends of ADOS TV is how she got there. And now we're being dragged for filth. With no PAC, well, I have my PAC, Equity Advocates PAC, equityadvpac.com to start aggregating dollars. If we each gave $1, we'd be at 40 million. 35 if you just want to talk about ADOS. We don't have many friends, family. equityadvpac.org. Thank you for those of you who have donated. I'm not going to say much about how we're moving because the agents of chaos are watching and reporting how we're moving. But none of that money Yvette and Tone raise on their shows trickles down to help our chapters. That's all financed out of our own pockets. Putting our chapters together, getting them incorporated, getting the PAC established, all of that out of my own pockets, our collective pockets. None of what she raises on her shows comes here to help us do this work. We are the boots on the ground that she disparaged last night and continuous nights on her show. Moving on, I promise that show's coming. I want to go directly to all the tweets and do a response video. Because my name, my reputation, and my brand matter to me. This ain't about nobody else giving me license to do a damn thing. It's my show, my voice, my experience, my observation, and the way I see it. Neera Tanden was nominated for Director of the Office of Management and Budget in November. Will she or Bernie Sanders have anything in there for reparations, for ADOS, even though she knows our plight? If confirmed by the Senate, she will make history as the first woman of color. Another way they flatten us to hold the position. Sabrina Singh was named as the White House Deputy Press Secretary earlier this month. She posted to Twitter, "I'm so grateful and incredibly humbled to join this team. It's been an honor to work for Kamala Harris. I'm excited to continue the work and deliver results for the American people." Singh previously worked as a press secretary for the Biden-Harris campaign. Where are the AKAs in the Biden-Harris administration? You know, the ones that were wearing the chucks and the pearls all over the country in celebration of the identity and respectability politics that they now can go back to sleep on. They're not over here moving with us. I guess there may be some that I may not be aware of. They may not be able to or will not share about their sororities or fraternities. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that some of them are over here. Not enough. Biden also named Sonia Agarwal as the senior advisor for climate policy and innovation last week. Biden also nominated former civil rights attorney Vanita Gupta, who will serve as his associate attorney general if confirmed by the Senate. By virtue of that name, the value of justice, we know the department carries a unique charge and North Star, Gupta said at a press conference earlier this month. It is the keeper of a sacred promise. It's the promise of equal justice for all, except the American descendant of chattel slavery. That no one is above the law. Really? Except when it comes to American descendant of chattel slavery. Aren't they now trying to pin the entire insurrection on one young black man who shouldn't have had his ass over there in the first place, lest you become the face of the insurrection? He's now being brought up on charges for beating up a police officer. All them white folks have gone in one door for appearances and out the back. But he, the one raisin in the whole bowl of milk, the one fly in the whole bowl of milk, gets to have the entire insurrection put on him. What about the Black Lives Matter protester? Little sister pinned to the ground. They wanted $1 million for her bond for protesting for Black Lives to Matter. Many of those protesters are still in jail as quiet as it's kept. They've not been able to make $1 million bail. Kyle Rittencracker goes through the Black Lives Matter protest, executes 2 protesters, maims a third, and the white crackers who have stolen all of our wealth raised $250,000 to bail him out. The young man who's Breonna Taylor's boyfriend raised about $650,000. That cop is coming for him. Tyler Perry had to be his reparations to get him some counsel. They're now wanting to sue him for breaking and entering into her home with a no-knock warrant, executing her, and now her boyfriend, who shot, not knowing if it was intruders or not, the officer he shot is suing him. Make it make sense. We're being left out while folks gleefully run around in their chucks and pearls and go to the polls, 85% of the electorate, 20% more than what went for Obama, no Obama, and vote this in office as we scream on a regular to weaponize your vote and socialize your suffering. Good Lord. We are at George Floyd 846 because we need more political education and we need to learn to move as a block, not create and sow division. Okay, but when abandoned, we degrade our democracy and sow the division that we've come to know all too well. If confirmed, Gupta says she will work tirelessly to uphold justice, accountability, and equality. Which of these immigrants in Congress have come forward to do what she professes that she promises to do on behalf of the American descendant of chattel slavery? Who are the anchor of this country, who are the legs of the table that all these groups eat from? Have you heard them? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Biden most recently nominated Urza Zaya for Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy, and Human Rights. We're at George Floyd 846. Poverty is a comorbidity in this country. Do you understand me? Dollars bring dignity, and being poor makes us targets. But they want to do this. A January 16 press release highlighted her diplomatic experience in the Middle East, South Asia, Europe, human rights, and multilateral affairs. She tweeted Saturday. Okay, let's finish with that one. Moving on. I don't think I'm going to get to the reading tonight, y'all. No, I'm not. I have to finish this segment because I want to move on. Okay, so you get the idea that immigration is being weaponized against us to deny us our justice claim. Let's share what Biden signs executive actions on racial equity. Let me share that with you. Good Lord. For too long, we've allowed a narrow, cramped view of the promise of this nation to fester, Biden said Tuesday. This is the same man that you can hear on the Senate floor, screaming for a crime bill that Clinton invoked while he took away welfare. President Jim Crow Joe signed 4 executive actions Tuesday aimed at advancing racial equity as part of his push to use the powers of his presidency to implement parts of his agenda. The executive actions direct the Department of Housing and Urban Development to take steps necessary to redress racially discriminatory federal housing policies that have contributed to wealth inequality for generations, according to a fact sheet shared by the White House. Executive actions also end the Justice Department's use of private prisons, recommit the federal government to tribal sovereignty, and take steps to combat discrimination against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders that has intensified during the coronavirus pandemic. Where's our shit? We have been annihilated by the race soldiers since they were our overseers turned police. The FBI put out a report in 2006 that the KKK, the white supremacists, has infiltrated the country all throughout. The police departments all throughout the country. But he wants to take steps to combat discrimination against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders that has intensified during the coronavirus pandemic. That's where he wants to focus. For too long, we've allowed a narrow, cramped view of the promise of this nation to fester, Biden said in a speech ahead of the signings. Nothing to protect the American descendant of chattel slavery that is still under the boot of the oppressor to this day. He's all on the Asian and what? Pacific Islanders. because folks are teasing them about being the origins of COVID. Biden said that closing the racial income and opportunity gaps would boost the economy for all Americans, adding that all federal agencies and White House offices would be tasked with tackling inequality. We are on the bottom, but he wants these class-based policies that I already shared do not fix race. When we lift each other up, we're all lifted up. Who's that sound like? Obama's all tides, right? And the corollary is true as well. When any of us is held down, we're all held back. How is that? I don't see a disproportionate number of immigrants dying from COVID, having a disproportionate number of COVID cases, being executed by government sanction, being miseducated in the preschool to prison pipeline, being redlined into environmentally racist communities and tenement housing, being gentrified out of their own communities, being denied business loans and grants, being denied set-asides, whose affirmative action go to benefit white women first, immigrants second, LGBTQIA third, denied home ownership, denied jobs, denied an American wage. None of these other groups that he's lumping us into this class-based policy while he turns the government immigrant and white and ADOS sellouts. They're not being held down or held back. The White House earlier Tuesday called the actions just the start, adding that Biden is committed to working with Congress to pass bold legislation that advances racial equity, including increasing funding for small businesses, investing in historically Black colleges and universities and other minority-serving institutions, and tripling funding for Title I schools, which serve a majority of low-income students. Immigrants and white folks are taking over the HBCUs. They have miseducated our people by and large that college can't even be on their minds. They got to survive the combat in their communities created by institutional systemic racism. How do their parents have the education I've got to put my daughter on the right track? And that's hard in and of itself. With assets, with education, with income, and no wealth. Other than a little bit I've created through some investments. My home being namely one of them. Here in Southern California. So if I'm having a challenge, if it takes me 6 months or more to get a job, how much harder do you think it is on those of us who lack education? Who lack the comforts that some of us have been afforded? That's why I use my voice. Because I know the data and I know the truth. I've been under the boot of institutional systemic racism in the job place down here. I saw Wells Fargo Bank replace predominantly the majority of American descendants of chattel slavery with Hispanics and Asians. Then coach them to rip off the customers, fire 5,500 of them, and gave John Stump a $143 million golden parachute, the CFO of Wells Fargo Bank. Just watch the Wells Fargo episode on Dirty Money. Lost 2 of my friends. One at age 24 died from an aneurysm, stress-induced by Wells Fargo, who told her she could no longer be educated on company time because she could not keep up with the sales quota of that moving bar in a recession. Another girlfriend of mine died from sarcoidosis after being educated 17 years. When she got married and chose to have a child, they came for her job and killed her. That's why I fight. And I'm not for the foolishness. The stakes are high. We are at George Floyd 846. Okay, so the White House earlier Tuesday called the actions just the start, adding that Biden is committed to working with Congress to pass bold. Okay, Let me move on past that. Susan Rice, who as Biden's domestic policy advisor is one of the highest ranking Black aides in the White House, said that economists estimate that $5 trillion could be added to the economy over the next 5 years and the racial gaps in income and opportunity are closed. Excuse me? We're owed on the low end $104 trillion. Do you see why they are weaponizing immigration against us? To deny us the justice claim. They are trying to hurry up and replace the vote and replace us with white immigrants. You know how they name the Irish white and they name the Jewish white? They're now naming the Latinx Hispanic community white. That's what they identify as until they want to piggyback onto the reparations we are owed. Now folks is pulling up African grandmas and grandpas. AOC's been doing it. Doing that code switching. So she can make sure she includes herself and her people like Elizabeth Warren did into our reparations, what Elizabeth Warren did for Indian repair. So they, talk about $5 trillion in 5 years. We don't have 5 years. We're at George Floyd 846. Building a more equitable economy is essential if Americans are going to compete and thrive in the 21st century. All Americans, not talking about us specifically, you see. This is Rice. One of us, or a Black immigrant, she's Black. That's why we're unflattening it with a new ethnicity on a national and a state level. We need to remind them daily in the name what we are owed until they cut that check. That's what we're here to do. I believe we all rise or fall together. Advancing equity is a critical part of healing and restoring unity in our nation. Not reparations, though. Oh, but you can put Harriet Tubman on the very money that was used to enslave us while denying us reparations. Symbolism. They use some young Black girl, Gorman, that Dr. Jill Biden handpicked to come up there and talk about Biden being some type of saving grace behind Trump. I'm paraphrasing, but it was a lie. That's what they do. They get the sellouts out front and push this narrative in the mainstream media to continue to make us third world in this country and to deny us our justice claim. The White House said that the executive order to not renew private prison contracts only applies to the Justice Department and not the Department of Homeland Security, which has contracts with privately operated immigration detention centers. Only applies to the Justice Department, you see. Nothing to see here. Prison contracts with the Justice Department. How about the fact that the feds feed money to the states for those beds? And then they come terrorize our communities that he's promised to give $30 million more to the race soldiers. Instead of jobs, instead of contracts, instead of home ownership, instead of business ownership, instead of healthy schools that can produce sharp Black minds like back in the Gap. $30 million more to the race soldiers. The executive orders Biden signed soon after being sworn in as president last Wednesday included one that directed the federal government to pursue a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. Don't mention Black not once. That is by design, because he already told y'all nothing would fundamentally change on the heels of Harris telling us she ain't doing nothing specific for us. Okay, I've had enough of that. I'm at 8:30. That's an hour and a half. I'm going to close this show because, you know what? I've gone too long. And I don't like to really just like go on and on. I've got a ton more to share. I'll have to do a part 3. I want to thank Shanna, Chrissy, all of you for joining the live. Let me say hello to Nina, Daryl, Unhure, Alfred, Gadaba, Gabata. Thank you for joining the live. Mike Michelson, Chinetta Lynn, Terry Lewis. What up, fam? Naeem, Way-El. Another brother, Be the Power. He stood up strong for us. I thank you so much for coming to the Real Leaders Defense in every space where you have a voice. We thank you so much for standing up for us when we were not allowed to speak. But the lid is off, okay? The lid is off. And so I'm trying to speak, but I'm going to do a separate show. Naeem, my God, you and Be the Power brothers, we love y'all black and strong for coming to our defense. We thank you so much. But the dragging continues, and I will do a separate show for that. Kim Mitchell, inequality is a comorbidity, as is poverty. Jessica J. Selena, thank you. She is with Green Party Black Caucus. Thank you for joining the live. Lynn Dickerson, Elise Love, Ezekuna Nana. You know they sleep 16? Huh? No, I'm not 16. Travis, I love you, my brother. Oh my God, he got dragged first doing a Selma march. He knows all too well. BIVOC info. Hispanics are now the new immigrant management class over blacks, as our esteemed native Black American economist and historian, Dr. Claude Anderson, predicted over 20 years ago. You are absolutely right. Our new oppressors. I'll share that article from a Hispanic that wrote all about how Biden cleaned the clocks of the civil rights leader. I'm trying to find that recording to share it with you the next show. I may pop on again Thursday. I'm trying to finish this segment and get back on track. God. So we can move on to our next book club read. Travis Lynn, okay. Tanya Princess Jones, thank you for joining the live. Astrid Maurer, thank you. Anointed, blessed, thank you. JoJo, I love you, fam. Thank you for joining the live. I'm trying to just tell my audience how much I love them. I'm out of time. I can't read, but I thank you for chatting this in here. We're going to get to it, fam. If you want to join me for some chat back, meet me over in Clubhouse under Angela Nirvana. I'm going over there now. Moni Love, Monica Tolliver. Thank y'all for rolling with us, sister. Y'all still here. So apparently you guys know the truth of how I get down, how I do things. I thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go over here with Nina, Daryl, and Anhur to answer questions. If you guys want to join us in the Clubhouse, we're having a little after party. I love y'all black and strong. Let me pray us out that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever AOS and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until maybe Thursday, I have to look at my calendar, fam. I'm being dragged in a million different directions as we rebuild and rebrand. You make it you go out here in this world, you let the world know who you are. Okay? I'm proud of you. I love you, black and strong. And you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and next couple of days until we meet again. If not Thursday, it'll be Friday. I'll get in another show before Sunday. Peace, family. Thank you for watching.